First, as I've been saying for a few weeks now, these are strange and extraordinary times. And they've just got a lot more strange and a lot more extraordinary today, with the government's shutdown of life pretty much as we know it. And we can see why government has very little option given how people are behaving and given what's happening overseas. You saw my table on Italy just before. Well, let me remind people that Italy had its first coronavirus death just 1 month ago. Its first on the 22nd of February. Now today, it's 23rd of March, and they've got 5,500 dead Italians. The health system there, of course, it's overwhelmed. Older people are being left untreated in hospital corridors, and the army's been called in to move bodies. And this has happened because the Italian government waited too long before ordering drastic social distancing. And that's why we're all now scrambling to make sure the same thing doesn't happen here. Now, I can appreciate we've only had 7 deaths so far, but Italy shows how quickly things move once the virus gets out of control. With nearly 2,000 infections, we are in a worse position than where Italy was just 3 weeks ago. Remember, it only took a month for Italian corona cases to go from a handful to 60,000 and deaths to go from 0 to 5,000. So let's be clear what our government is trying to do here. It's trying to protect us from the health disaster that might otherwise overwhelm our hospitals, and it's trying to protect us from the economic disaster that these health precautions could so easily create. Since few of us here in Australia have yet been touched by the disease itself, but just about all of us are already being touched by the economic shock, the grocery shortages and the job insecurity, let me try to explain why that's happening as well. Now, normally governments want to boost the economy, yet this is the first economic showdown or slowdown in history that has the government deliberately and rightly so causing the downturn in order to slow the spread of disease. Now, when a business suffers because of bad management or people lose their jobs because of a business downturn, that's economic life and we bear the consequences. But when a business suffers or people lose their jobs because of deliberate government policy, well, it's the government's job to sustain them for as long as the government's policy is necessary. That's why governments around the world, including ours, are suddenly paying wages or doubling the dole and giving businesses cash to get them through. Having put many businesses into a kind of induced coma, the government is trying to keep them on a form of life support till the health crisis has passed and normal activity can resume. It's the right idea, but it's never been done before, and the mechanics of it are still being worked out. Like at Centrelink today, which faced large queues of people whose income had dried up trying to get help. So Centrelink advised people to contact them online, only for online applicants to learn that you actually had to turn up in person to get a client reference number first. The Minister, Stuart Robert, was scrambling to sort this out this afternoon, but it's just the latest example of how inevitably the system will take time to catch up to events that I have to tell you, working here in the media, they are moving hour by hour. Over coming months, a lot will happen. Some of it will be predictable, the usual crisis stuff that we can expect, like shortages in our healthcare workers. But there'll be plenty that we don't predict. And whatever is thrown at us, we'll just have to cope with it. Like the cruise ship now demanding to dock at Fremantle with 200 sick foreigners on board. Tough decisions will have to be made, and made quickly, like perhaps sending the ship to Christmas Island and helping them there, because we can't be inhumane. They're not Australians, but we can't be inhumane. At the same time, we must ensure Australians are not put at further risk. As I said at the top of the show, I know you're worried. It's palpable in the community, and I think anyone who says they're not worried, they're either ignorant or they're lying. I've got a beautiful mum who's been through the wars with her health lately. I love her dearly, and every day in all of this, she's front of mind for me. But because I have to work out of this studio and I'm not safe, it means I can't visit her, not for months. And that's really hard. But for all its creaks and groans, and I've worked inside the belly of the beast, I have faith in the system. Our governments and officials, they won't get everything right, but I'll always tend to forgive them if they're quick to act here rather than slow to act, because in this, with coronavirus, delay is death. And in all of this, I know we'll worry less if things are explained and put into context, and that's what I'll try and do for you every night on this show for as long as the crisis lasts, using all my experience in government as best I can.